Okay, we're back. This is Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. We're talking about the how of the final false flag, and we're talking about astral holographic technology, which was originally coined as the astral screen by Dr. Andy Toltec. So, in astral holographic technology terms, or AHT if you will, and you're not going to find this anywhere, I'm the only one that's come up with this, so be that as it may. In AHT terms, the realm that aliens or interdimensional beings inhabit is called the astral. Now, whether you believe it's the astral or whether you believe I'm just ass something that rhymes, doesn't really matter. Let's just say that whatever that realm is, it's the astral for terms of this discussion. Now, the realm that the aliens inhabit is called astral, and this really seems to limit the application and understanding to the type of beings that we term interdimensional or demonic in nature. You know, ET, interdimensional, demonic type of beings. Now, it may not apply to spacefaring races capable of and interested in traveling to Earth. Any craft that got them this far could likely get them to the Earth's surface as well. And again, they're just coming to blast stuff and take us over. So since these incorporeal beings cannot come from their realm to ours, that's my assertion, they're forced to use one of two methods that we've talked about. They must either lure us into the astral and do it without our knowledge in order to preserve that illusion, or they must create the illusion that makes it appear to our senses that they have come here. And this illusion is astral holographic technology, AHT. So let's look at both methods. Humans have a unique ability due to the fact that we were created in the image of the Elohim. We can separate from our physical bodies and travel in our true spiritual or energetic nature into what, for this discussion, we're calling the astral realm. Now, the aliens seem to be maniacally jealous of this ability because they're are unable to duplicate it. Now, it doesn't stop them from taking advantage of it, and they take advantage of it to pull us without our knowledge into the astral realm. In this way, they make us believe that they've come to our realm when they actually have been pulled in we actually been pulled into theirs. And it sounds kind of complicated, but it's actually a very simple energetic exercise. Anyone with any shamanic abilities that has gone into the dreams of others, or anyone that has even done astral projection or astral travel, has an understanding of this technology. If you saw the movie Inception, Leonardo DiCaprio, Ellen Page, great example of it. It seems amazingly real, and I think it seems so real because really it's the most real part of us that is experiencing this reality. The part of us that is eternal is the most real, the most sentient, and the most sensually aware. So the fact that it's happening to our eternal energetic nature, I think, makes it seem so vividly real, because it really is really real. It's realer than what happens in this world. And it also has the advantage, if you're talking from the aliens side, it has the advantage of bypassing the filters of the rational doubting parts of the human, and also the human reactive and analytical mind. So people unaware of this methodology, people that are hyper prepared by exposure to rich, deep visual stimulation via television, movies, video games, are really easy prey. And I agree with Dr. Toltec that this is the key to virtually all alien appearances, alien abductions, and even to horrific things like ritual child sacrifice. Dr. Toltec has asserted, and I've come to agree, that most abductions, most alien abductions, are of the astral variety. We'll explain this later. Most of the UFO sightings are not ultimately craft of terrestrial origin. They're not ultimately hoaxes. They're AHT. A lot of these maneuvers that are simply not possible within our atmosphere, according to the laws of physics, are possible, of course, with astral holographic technology. Now, as to the dark world of ritual abuse and sacrifice, I almost hesitate to talk about it, but we probably should. Former high initiates have spoken out, and as well as those that have been able to glean information from the super secret world, often assert, and the more recent ones almost exclusively so, that at least in modern times, ritual child sacrifice, ritual child abuse occur almost exclusively in the astral and not in the physical realm. Now let me explain this. I've had the privilege of discussions with just such an individual who, for obvious reasons, wishes to remain anonymous. This person was recruited by what they term an Illuminati. Fact is, there's actually several Illuminati type groups and not the one powerful monolith of popular myth. Sorry, Jay-Z. But at a very young age, this person was recruited due to a unique combination of exceptionally high scores on academic tests and the demonstration of spiritual and psychic abilities. This person was sent to special schools to develop both academically and in the arcane mysteries. And it's very reminiscent to me of the world of Harry Potter. So much so that it makes me somewhat reluctant to quickly assign all the adventures of the boy wizard completely to the realm of fiction. Now, this individual was witness to multiple episodes of ritual abuse. This individual was witness to multiple episodes of child sacrifice. And this individual asserts that in each and every case they personally witnessed or were aware of, each and every case was always astral in nature and not physical. Now just think about it in practical terms. It's much safer for the perpetrators of this evil to do it in the astral. And it's just as satisfying. Now let me clearly state this, folks. I don't believe the non-physical nature of the abuse makes it any less real, any less hurtful, or any less criminal. In fact, if you remember what I just said, I would argue that it in fact is more sinister because the abuse is being inflicted upon the true spiritual essence of the person and not just upon their temporal physical shell. And I've even been told by this individual that the most nefarious of dark souls relish the opportunity to abuse the true spiritual essence of a person and not just their physical body. So that's the story of how human energetic potential and ability can and is being used against us by beings, both terrestrial and interdimensional or alien, as you would call them, and you're certainly free to use the terminology that you agree with and that is most comfortable to you. Now beyond this, that's the leveraging of basic human spiritual dynamics and abilities, and the abuse of it by those that have mastered the use of astral travel and separating from their physical bodies, and the ability to draw others out of their bodies and leverage them in an astral fashion. Now beyond this, astral holographic technology is used when pulling a person into the astral without their knowledge is either impractical or too difficult, or in cases where a mass illusion is required. A lot of times a person who's targeted, or I shouldn't say a lot of times, at times a person is targeted and they're simply too spiritually aware, or they have some unusually strong energetic potential, or they're just very energetically grounded. Maybe they regularly perform the Jeff's simple chakra mantra and they're very energetically grounded, and it's much too problematic to try to use the energetic potential and abilities of such individuals against them. You just can't do it. They're too rooted, they're too grounded, their abilities are just far too developed to be able to leverage their energetic potential and their abilities against them. It just won't work. So in these situations, AHT will be employed. An astral hologram is projected containing and detailing the chosen illusion for that selected person or persons, if it's a mass situation, to view, experience, and even interact with. Let me give you a real-world example of astral holographic technology. Many years ago, I was a younger, more intrepid evangelist. I accompanied a great missionary to a tribal group. I won't mention his name because association with me at this point might cause him some embarrassment. My love, respect, and thanks do go out to him, however. I'm not even sure he's still alive, to be frank with you. But we went to preach under a thatch-covered, open-sided structure that accommodates 60 to 70 people. A lot of people were there every night, and they were interested, they were responsive, they were polite, but they weren't terribly moved at our preaching. Perhaps it's because I was doing most of the preaching. But the last night, my friend, who was older, wiser, more experienced, he was preaching, and I was sitting behind him, watching, and about halfway through his message, I saw a guy walk in the back of the structure. And when I saw him, I literally got chills, even though the heat was sweltering. He had a huge headdress on. He was covered with tattoos. He had a bone through his nose. He carried a real large, ornate, and impressive spear. Of course, this guy was the witch doctor. Now, with my increased spiritual knowledge and courtesy, I'd probably refer to him as the village shaman, but he was the witch doctor, and he began to walk down the aisle, interrupting my friend's message. And my friend stopped. The witch doctor approached. Everything went incredibly quiet. I remember that even the insects had seemingly stopped buzzing. And then the impossible happened. This witch doctor, who knew no English, addressed us in perfect English. He said, "Your God has no power. He lives only in old papers in your books. I'll show you real power." And he laid down on the floor, which of course was only dirt. But he laid down on the dirt floor right in front of my friend, who I had now joined. And for a moment, he just laid there. And I remember I chuckled nervously, like, what's going on? And then this witch doctor started to levitate. He started to float. He was about 2 feet off the ground, and I drew breath, and my buddy knew it. I was going to give him my best Pentecostal, "In the name of Jesus." But sensing it, my friend touched my arm, caught my eye, shook his head, and he silently mouthed the words, "Not yet." Then the witch doctor rose to 4 feet. I looked at my friend. He shook his head, no. He was very calm, and he even had the hint of a grin. Then the witch doctor got up to 6 feet. And he hung there, floating in midair by nothing other than some magic or power I couldn't explain. And then my friend turned to me, smiled, pointed his finger at me like we all did as kids, like it was a gun, and said, "Now." And with that, I unleashed my Pentecostal rebuke, and at my amazement and the great amusement of my friend, the witch doctor fell like a rock, slammed to the ground, knocked the wind out of himself. And of course, it was a great moment in the village, and everybody accepted what we were preaching. And I had a hard time with this for a while, because I no longer believed in dichotomous good, evil, angel, demon theology. I'd spent many hours pondering just what might have happened that night, and I remember that Dr. Toltec, I had mentioned to him, and he told me, my own witch doctor friend tells me what happened with the witch doctor. That's interesting. He believes that astral screen, as he calls it, was employed that night. As real as it seemed to every one of us that was there, the good doctor asserts that the witch doctor didn't really float. He didn't really fall. We were just made to believe that he did. An astral hologram was projected, detailing the scene that we all witnessed, and that's how the remarkable events took place. And I said, yeah, but how come my Pentecostal rebuke broke the hologram and the guy fell? And Dr. Toltec says it was the force of my energetic intention and not my Jimmy Swaggart impression that did it. And after much research and meditation, I think he's right. And I think this is the most satisfying explanation of the reality of that event and events much like it. Now, in very similar fashion, just as a governmental entity could employ technological holographic, technological holography or holographic imagery, or the use of secret craft to perpetrate this false flag, an alien invader could use this same type of spiritual deception to set up a human puppet government to advance their agenda, or they could set themselves up as the saviors that would come and take over the planet. Or a human government, of course, could employ a technological version to accomplish their own ends. And one wonders if they already have. But either case could produce a spectacular, realistic, false flag event. And folks, I remain convinced that the entirety of epic literature and spiritual writings of collective human history do not show a god or gods that would destroy the earth in anger. And I'm also convinced that the Elohim will never allow the rogue lord to realize his crazed fantasies of destruction. If he tries to destroy the earth again, I fully believe the Elohim will intervene and stop him. The potential of a human government launching a false flag event is extremely high in my estimation, unless we get the word out and stop them. And could these be the reasons why John issued his final message in the way that he did? By knowing the real truth about the Lord and his nature, by understanding the alien and governmental propaganda, by knowing their lies and being wise to their ways and technologies, we can spread this information far and wide and disarm any organizations that would seek to use this technology against us in either its spiritual or its mechanical forms. I'm doing all I can. The only way I can do more is if you help me. Exposure to this material, folks, should be more than enough to prompt even the most casual objective observer to seriously ponder the ET UFO alien agenda, the imagery permeating what we call the New Testament. Whether you believe the source is alien or not, this knowledge could well motivate you to reevaluate the New Testament and reconsider the unquestioned authority its teachings have long enjoyed. Folks, if we can get outside of our box, if we can get outside of our preconceived notions, it's very clear that a great majority of the New Testament was written in a way that it could not be understood completely until our day. Only now are we able to grasp the fact that we likely will soon witness the most massive, ambitious, and sinister false flag in human history, the purpose of which will be to massively depopulate and take control of our planet Earth. If successful, the remaining population will come under bondage that makes what we're under now look petty by comparison, and you and I are the only ones that can stop it. We have the message, and I'm doing all I can do without any more help from you. So let's do it. Let's do it. Now, interesting. Jeff, if demons, aliens, interdimensional beings, if they can't come to our realm, and by the way, we're going to end the program with this segment because I am going to be on another show directly after this one, and quite frankly, I think that this is the right place to end this, so we're going to end this show in about 7 minutes instead of our normal top of the hour. Apologies to the station or anybody else. That's just what I think we need to do at this point. But what about the entities, the ghosts, the demons that do touch people, those that do interact with people, those that are clearly within our realm? Are you saying that all of that is astral holographic technology? Well, I'm not completely certain on that, but here's what I think. I think, and I'm still studying, and this is speculation. I never speculate, but in the few occasions when I do speculate, I tell you that I'm speculating. I don't try to make it sound like I know what I'm talking about when I'm thinking out loud. It seems to me that entities that were at one time in human form and now are not in human form, i.e. ghosts, spirits, whatever we want to call them, until those entities pass on to the next realm, they are still able somewhat to interact with us. I hear stories from people that I completely trust being scratched, being bruised, being touched by entities. I felt breath on my face from entities. And it could be that it's the AHT is just so convincing that our psychology convinces us that we've been scratched and touched, and of course it manifests, and that's replete within the world of psychosis and psychological disorders. People can manifest scratches, bruises, even broken limbs and things that they think happen to them by beings that really aren't there. So powerful is our psychosis, and so powerful is our mind that we can manifest these things at times. But either it's that, or either the power of AHT, of astral holographic technology, is so strong that it can so convince us in our human psychology that yes, it does manifest physically, and there is precedent within psychological disorders to prove that. Now, it's also possible that beings that used to be human, that have not yet crossed to the other realm, still within our realm, if they've become strong enough, have the ability to touch, feel, scare, interact in some way. And I believe, I'm probably leaning towards that now. If an entity has passed on to the other realm, it can't get back. It's like a one-way door. And it's energetic, because we're here and we can operate here because we have a physical body. And the physical body is very powerful. But they don't have the physical bodies anymore, so getting back, they don't have an anchor to get back to. They've got no stake or claim here anymore. So the energetic requirements are just far too great for them to come back once they've left this realm. But I do believe the distinct possibility that entities that have not left this realm yet retain the ability, some of them get strong enough that they can affect us physically or affect things physically in some form or fashion. So AHT doesn't explain everything. AHT explains everything beyond the entities that have not left this realm yet. And it's interesting that the Apostle Peter tells us that the early church used to speak truth to these entities that are not in the body anymore, that are in the spirit, that have not progressed to where they're supposed to go, so that they might be able to go where they're supposed to go. And it all fits together. If you've got these entities that are interfering with the living, then it's our opportunity to speak to them, instruct them, and guide them, free them from the bondages that they picked up while they were in the flesh, and help them to move on. And if for some reason they don't want to move on, it's also incumbent upon us to go ahead and escort them out of the building anyway, because they don't have the right, the privilege, or they don't have the right to be interfering with the lives of the living. So folks, that's the how of the final false flag. John told us what's going to happen. John told us how it's going to happen. And maybe I extrapolated a little bit and explained to you in modern shamanic, spiritual, and psychological terms just exactly how it can take place. You can contact me at jeffreydarty.com, christianwhistleblower.com. Just hit the contact button. And it takes me a little while these days, but I will get back to you. I will respond to you, unless you're being a jerk. If you're rebuking me and then I won't respond. So don't even waste your time or mine, because I'm very proficient with the delete button. But if you do want to talk to me, ask me questions, please do so. My YouTube site's being built up. The tour is on. If you want me to speak at your church, your event, let me know. If you have paranormal cleansing that you need, if you need spiritual work, let me know. We're going to be on the road. We can schedule things. And help me get this message out. And until next week, I'm Jeffrey Darty, the Christian Whistleblower, encouraging you to unindoctrinate yourself.